I wonder if you remember the first time you started to meditate, the first time you learned to meditate. I was thinking about this myself, and it was quite a long time ago, it's about 20 years ago. And I was sort of quite excited, and I was going on to meditate, and I didn't quite know what I was going to be letting myself in for. I was thinking that perhaps I was going to be learning something sort of intellectual or something, and I was sort of anticipating what it would be like, and I was really aware of the room I went into and the people that were there. And I remember the woman that was teaching the meditation that night. I remember sort of hearing her voice and listening to her instructions really, really carefully. And I remember the impact of the meditation. When I finished, I remember feeling a lot calmer. At that particular point in time, I had a very busy mind, and I found it really refreshing to be able to sit down for a while and just to meditate. And quite often when people talk about meditation, they mention this thing about beginner's mind. And it's sort of something about an attitude that we bring to meditation when we don't really know what's going to be there. We're sort of curious, and various other qualities which I want to talk about a little bit later. And there may be things which sometimes we forget about when we meditate. And it's quite useful to remember those things because they do open us up and bring a richness to the meditation. And tonight we're going to be talking a little bit about the attitude we bring to meditation. So last week Charlotte started a series of 4 weeks where we're going to be looking at the metta-bhavana, but in a slightly different way. So the metta-bhavana is the cultivation of loving kindness. If you've not done it before, it doesn't matter because we're going to be leading you through all the exercises. They're quite simple, so don't worry about that. But we're going to be looking at this meditation practice from a slightly different angle to the way it's normally taught. And Charlotte explained that in the first 2 weeks we're going to be looking at receptiveness, our ability to take in what it is that we're feeling and to respond to that. And in the second 2 weeks we're going to be looking at activity. So there'll be techniques techniques we can use to help us cultivate metta, loving kindness. So I'm continuing this week on the receptiveness side, but as I say, I'm going to be looking at some of the attitudes. We'll be building on what Charlotte did last week, but also just looking at our attitude that we bring to the meditation. So my name's Amaladana, and I'm here at Ephra Space with Maitrunara, Cheryl, and Jack. And if you're listening online, please say hello, say where you're calling in from, and we'll call out your name later on to get a sense of the Sangha on a Monday night. But what perhaps we'll start with is a sort of a 10-minute body scan. So that's a fairly normal thing we do, and that'll help us arrive at the meditation. Relax us a little bit and get us ready for the evening. I'll do a little talk after that for about 15 minutes on this attitude that we bring to meditation, and then we'll do a bit of a longer sit, maybe 20-25 minutes, where we'll try to practice some of the things that we've been talking about. So why don't you just get into your meditation posture. Just close your eyes. Just get a sense of the weight falling through your body, through your sitting bones, into the ground. Maybe just enjoy that sensation. Maybe it's the first time today you've had a chance to sit still. Just feel your body relaxing. Feeling its weight taken through your sitting bones and through your legs into the ground. try to get a sense of balance in your body. So our bodies are symmetrical, aren't they? Just get a sense of it being lined up. Perhaps just rock gently from left to right so you can feel the weight transfer from one sitting bone to the other. And just stop when you think you've got a central point. And then maybe you could just rock gently forwards and backwards. Again, finding a good central position. So now bring your consciousness to the lower part of your body. Become aware of the large muscles in your calves, in your thighs, and your buttocks. Just let them relax. A sense of the lower part of your body providing a platform, a base for your meditation. Taking the weight of your body into the ground. You get a sense of enjoyment from the stillness of your body. Now bring your attention to your spine, rising up from your pelvis in its natural curves, all the way to the base of your skull. Running through your lower back, between your shoulder blades, up through the neck, and then your head gracefully poised at the top of your spine, maybe with your chin slightly tucked in. And just a slight sense that the crown of your head is just floating upwards. Now bring your attention to your arms. Again, just notice the weight of the arms. Imagine that falling down into your hands, and then into a cushion or your lap. There's no need to keep any tension in your arms. In fact, you might notice they balance the top part of your body quite easily. Notice if you can sense any energy in your hands. One hand gently resting in the other. Still now, been moving around all day probably. You just sense a tingling in the hands. And bring your attention to your face. Soften the face. The face relax, give in to gravity. Imagine your forehead becoming smooth. Your eyes and the muscles around your eyes softening, relaxing. Relaxing your cheeks. Letting your jaw and your tongue and your lips be loose. Notice if there's any tension in your neck and shoulders. If there is, just imagine breathing into that tension. And letting it go with the out-breath. Imagining your shoulders sliding down and back. Opening out the chest. Each breath. Now bring your attention to your heart and chest area. Notice your breath, moving your rib cage in and out with each breath. And imagine each time your rib cage opens more easily, closes more easily. Sense of openness and expansiveness in that area. maybe even a sense of warmth. Bring your attention to your belly. Again, notice if there's any tension in your belly. If there is, imagine the breath brushing over that tension, dissolving it. That tension just sinking down through your sitting bones into the ground. Notice your body breathing. Feel the movements of your body as the breath enters and leaves your body. Just take one more note of the stability in your body, the stillness in your body, and hopefully the alertness in your body too. Let's get a sense of what that feels like. Bring your awareness to any sounds in the room around you, or the room, or the space outside of the room. Aeroplanes, traffic, people's voices, noises in the building. In your own time, just open your eyes and relax your posture. So we'll have a look and see if anybody's joining this evening. So there's a few people here. There's Gurdeep from Port Talbot, and Pam, hi Pam, Jill from Gypsy Jill, and Sarah from Crystal Palace. Ian's here. Hi Ian. I think Ian's going to be hosting our Zoom session afterwards, so special hi to Ian and Chris. Missing Space. And Annabelle. So hi to you all. So yeah, please, if you have any questions, use the chat to let us know what they are. Yeah, anyone who hasn't said hello, please use that again to say hello to us. We'll have a look at it again later on. So as I said at the beginning, so Charlotte started this last week, and she was looking at our receptivity in our practice, and I think she said that she was doing an exercise in the metta-bhavana without the bhavana side. So metta-bhavana, the bhavana means cultivation. So without any activity to specifically try to generate metta, she was just looking at going through the motions of the practice, thinking about ourselves, our friend, etc., and just noticing how we respond, noticing what bodily feelings come up with us, and perhaps what emotions are associated with those. And we're going to do a little bit more of that again this evening. But we just wanted to talk a little bit about attitude. So it started by sort of reminiscing on my first experiences of meditation, and how I think I was quite, I think it's quite a common thing, as I say. There's this phenomenon called beginner's mind, where people seem to be very open, but sort of and bring a sort of sense of curiosity to the practice, and it's almost like a bit of an adventure, really, because you don't know what's going to happen, and that's a lovely way to lovely way to be, and it really opens the doors to anything, really. And what can happen though is that after a while we might feel that we learn the practices and we practice them fairly regularly, hopefully, and we have various experiences which we become perhaps used to. And when we sit down to meditate, we just sort of think that's what's going to happen, and we sort of limit ourselves. We have an expectation of what the meditation is going to be like, and we might even, if it's not like that, if perhaps we are overcome with emotions we don't like, we're not very comfortable, we don't really get absorbed in the meditation, and we might become disappointed with ourselves. And we might start having little conversations with ourselves about how the meditation is not working. And that's really all about us coming to the meditation with an expectation of what's going to happen. And it's very limiting. I was thinking, when I was thinking about doing this talk, I was thinking back to when I first started, but I don't know, I was also thinking back to something which happened when I was about that time, about 20 years ago. And one of my daughters asked me what my favourite colour was, as they do. And I thought I came up with a very clever answer by saying I don't have a favourite colour, which sort of closed down any interest in my daughter in what I was thinking, of course. And to me, I don't know exactly what was in my mind. But some years later, I noticed that I had this a candle, one of those candles you get in glasses, and the glass was this beautiful violet colour, and I realised that I'd always loved that colour, and how so violet's got this sort of this element of pink and blue and mauve and purple, and it almost sort of shimmers, particularly in glass. The qualities of that colour, and I don't know why, I can't explain it, but it really sort of has a sort of heartfelt response to a colour. And it just sort of, for some reason, I remembered saying that I didn't have a favourite colour, and I said, well, I don't know whether it's my favourite colour, but it's a colour I really respond to, and I get a lot of. It has an effect on me, almost a physical effect on me. And I told my daughter that some years later, and of course she wasn't interested anymore. But nevertheless, I think the interesting thing for me was that when I was thinking about this particular talk and about how we have how we can put things into boxes and limit them and not open them up and explore. Whereas if I'd actually thought for a minute, you know, if I'd approached my daughter's question with the right frame of mind, you know, with a curious frame of mind, with an open frame of mind, I would have realised that a lot sooner, and she would have responded. She would have got that a much more positive response from me as well. So you know, and you know, it's sort of, it is extraordinary, you know, how our mind works and why we have these responses to our sensations. And we don't really know about our mind, apart from the fact that it is extraordinary, and it is bigger than we can imagine. And in a sense, when we meditate, we're using our mind to explore our mind, and it is an exploration, and it's an adventure, and that's, you know, a sort of something we bring perhaps to our, you know, our initial meditations, but perhaps we shouldn't forget that, because we never know what's going to happen. We can't go through various steps. You know, it's not a science, meditation, so we don't know what's going to happen. So we need to remain open to all possibilities and respond to what actually is our experience, not what our experience should be, what we think it should be. So that's really, you know, an important thing, not to hold on to expectations in our meditation. Another thing is about our intention, you know. So when we meditate, on our initial meditations, perhaps we're very aware of the fact that we're going to go and spend time doing something, perhaps with other people, learning. You know, we'll maybe, you know, make sure that we're not late. We get there on time. We're sort of ready for it. We know what we're going for. And you know, maybe later we get a bit blasé and we sort of turn up just as the class starts, or you know, we turn on Zoom just as the class starts, and you know, we just expect to switch on meditation, and you know, what we're talking about in these 4 sessions is that we're talking about the cultivation of loving kindness. And you know, we want to sort of remember that that's what our intention is when we're coming to do this metta-bhavana meditation. We're trying to cultivate loving kindness. So it would help, for example, if we do arrive in good time, if we've not just perhaps listened to the news and got irritated by various irritating things that seem to happen on the news, or had a row with our partner or friend or whatever. You know, we want to sort of try and arrive in a state of mind which is appropriate to what we're trying to do. So we need to sort of think about preparing. So our intention is to, you know, prepare for our meditation, and we might even sit down and read something that appeals to us, a poem or whatever, or put some flowers where we meditate, or light some incense, and it's you know, we need to place value on what we're doing, because you know, as I say, we're going through this exploration, and we're developing or cultivating these qualities which will you know, are very special qualities to develop. So we need to make effort to prepare. So I think, you know, so the last thing I wanted to talk about really is the concept of effort. So when we come to meditation, we do want to come, and we do want to put in the right sort of effort to get the most out of the meditation. And when it comes to effort, there is the sort of effort I was just speaking about in terms of preparing. But then we sit down on the cushions, we close our eyes, and we need to lead ourselves, or be led through the meditation that we're doing. And so there is an element of thought. You know, even though these 2 weeks we're talking about receptivity, can't deny that there is an element of thought involved. The thought is to guide us through the meditation. It's not idle thought, or what we call prapancha, you know, where the mind just wanders off on its own and goes into places which are not relevant to what we're trying to do. So we need to bring effort into to bring the right sort of thought effort into our meditation. But more importantly, or not more importantly, but more pertinently to what we're talking about here, where we're talking about noticing, being receptive, noticing what's actually happening. We need to bring effort into that particular activity, into actually being with really what's happening in us at this particular point in time. So we could come along to meditation. We could just sit down, get in our posture, close our eyes, and go through the motions of the practice of whatever it is. We could listen to someone leading us, or we could practice the meditation we know ourselves, and just expect it to happen. And just feel that we're somehow going to get into an absorbed state because we're sitting down in a quiet position. But it's not quite like that. We need to be with exactly what's going on in our minds and in our bodies. And when we do that, we might come across, so we might be sitting down, as we will be in a few minutes, trying to think about ourselves, how we are ourselves, and we might find that we're experiencing difficult emotions. And I don't really need to list difficult emotions. It's quite, we could find ourselves being angry, for example, perhaps with someone or even with ourselves, and that might take us into dialogue with ourselves. Imagining, making up stories, and going into this thing I call prapancha, this proliferation of ideas. Which seem to be necessary with the emotion we're having. So, in terms of effort, we need to recognize when that's happening, and come back to our bodily experience. And this is what Charlotte was talking about last week. We don't want to pretend we're not having these emotions. We do want to acknowledge them. It's important to acknowledge the emotions. But we also want to not get caught up in them and not get caught up in stories. We want to be with what's there, but the way that we can be with it is to bring ourselves back to our bodily experience. And one of the things we might notice when we're having difficult emotions is that our thoughts are very much around ourselves. They're very closed into a sense of ourselves. And we can, become very judgmental about ourselves and other people. So, and their feelings and emotions that we don't want to dwell in. We don't want to indulge in. We want to acknowledge that they're happening. But when they happen, we want to get back into our bodily experience and explore the bodily experience and be with that. But also, when we're looking at it rather negatively, because of course we can have very pleasurable experiences when we meditate too. And likewise, when we're having a pleasurable experience, we again want to bring ourselves back to the body and just experience that pleasure. And that's obviously a far more desirable thing to expend our effort into, and far more rewarding to do that. So we need effort, but we need to with the effort we need to bring a sense of balance. So we can be very willful and insist that we have to do the meditation in a particular way, and then insist that we do it for a certain amount of time and stay with a particular part of the meditation for a particular amount of time, and then move on when that time is gone. But that can be quite rigid and sort of regimented, and not really in tune with what our body wants and what's going on emotionally with us. On the other side, we could be a little bit too lackadaisical, and we can just be feel that we can go with what, you know, we can drift off from the purpose of the meditation, and perhaps drift, you know, into a completely dreamy state where we're not really meditating at all. We're just sort of dreaming on our cushions, getting into a sort of sleepy state. And there's a sort of metaphor sometimes that's used for this, which is sort of helpful in terms of bringing this balance to our meditation. It's where, you know, you imagine you're holding in your hands a wren, a little songbird, and you don't want to lose it. You don't want to let it go. But you don't want to, so you don't want to open your hands too loosely. But on the other hand, you don't want to hold it so tightly that you crush it. And that's a sort of sense of the art in meditating. It's not just a case of following rules. I mean, the structure of meditation is very helpful and very necessary. But it's not there as a cage. It's there as a guide. And the art of meditating is about being with our own experience, and learning when to pay attention to our bodies and our sensations, and when to be a little freer and just rest in awareness. So that's all I wanted to say, really. So just really. Let's not try and bring too many expectations. If we notice that we're sort of thinking that we're going to have a great meditation because last time it was great, or last time I felt really relaxed and really open, I had visions or whatever, that's not necessarily going to happen again. In fact, it probably won't happen again in the next meditation. So let's just be with what's actually happening. Let's be aware of what we're trying to do. What's our intention in meditating? You know, and let's try and make the period leading up to that consistent with that intention. And we need to bring effort to our meditation. We need to bring attention to what's actually going on with us. If we're experiencing difficult emotions or any emotions, let's recognize those and acknowledge those, but get back into how that actually feels. What's the experience in our bodies of those emotions? So the qualities, the qualities that are helpful are sort of curiosity, patience, receptiveness, openness, a sort of sense of adventure, and attention, if you like, to what's going on. So I thought perhaps we'd try that out a little bit, and try that out with just 3 of the stages of the metta-bhavana. I'll talk us through it. So if you don't know the stages, don't worry. We'll talk through that. I'll talk you through that. And what else do I need to say? Yes. So our intention here is to bring our awareness into what's arising in ourselves, how we are at this particular point in time. And in following weeks, in the next 2 weeks, we're going to be talking more about what techniques or thoughts we can use which will help us cultivate a metaphor or a loving kindness in the meditation. And one thing more I'll mention is in Buddhism, when we talk about senses, we talk about 6 senses, and which is the normal 5 senses. And the 6th sense that's used in Buddhism is the mind is considered as a sense. And the word for mind that's used in Buddhism is chitta, and it means heart mind, and it's like a combination of our more emotional side and our more sort of rational side, and the two things are considered as something together. And perhaps we can try and bring that to mind. And hopefully I'll try and lead us through that a little bit in our exploration of how we are now. So let's just get into our meditation postures again. Just closing our eyes. Trying to remember that sense earlier of the body being alert but relaxed, stable, balanced. Maybe think of the body as a mountain. Just relaxing the face again. Softening the throat. Breathing into any tension you may have in your shoulders and neck muscles. Once again, just enjoying the sense of the weight of your body taken down through your sitting bones into the ground. Bring your attention into your heart and chest area. Notice the breath expanding and contracting the rib cage. Just imagine your breath massaging the inside of your heart and chest area, making it more supple. Imagining it expanding to contain all of your thoughts, all of your emotions. Just asking yourself how you are right now. There's no right or wrong answer. Just pretend that you don't know and you're waiting. You're waiting for a response from your body to tell you how you are. And just be a little patient as you wait. If you notice anything about your emotional state at the moment, acknowledge how that is. Maybe just ask how that feels in the body. Where can you feel that? Sensations maybe in your belly, in your heart area, maybe your throat or even in your face. You may find that there's tension in your body. If you notice that, just stay with it. See how it changes with each breath. We're not trying to create an effect. We're just trying to explore. To learn. If we don't notice anything in particular, well, does that have a feeling? Does that have a sort of a weight in the body? Now bring your attention back into your heart and chest area. Like before, just get a sense of that area being supple, expansive. Enjoy the sense of the breath coming in, going out. And bring a good friend to mind. The first person that comes to mind is fine. Maybe you'll have an image of them in mind, or the sound of their voice. Something about their character that is important to you. Let's bring them to mind. See if that has any bodily response for you. You may find corners of your lips rising in a slight smile. You feel light. Well, there may be no response at all. The important thing is you just notice what's there. there are pleasurable sensations, stay with them. See how they change or grow. Now bring your attention back to your heart and chest area. And again, sensations of the breath entering and leaving the body. And bring to mind all of the people around you in the building that you're in. Expand out your thoughts to include as many people as you possibly can. In a very abstract way. Humanity. Maybe even imagine all life on earth. Seeing the earth spinning in the middle of a huge universe. Just wonder at the complexity and magic of the world that we live in. Notice how your body responds to that. Now relax all your effort. Just bring your mind back to the sense of your body as a mountain in your meditation posture. And in your own time, open your eyes. And relax your posture. I'll just have a look and see if there's any questions. No questions, but Samuel Perry from Brixton's joined, a bit late, but welcome Samuel. And Peter from Forest Hill, that's my neck of the woods, Peter. Good, well thanks for signing in. So just to maybe go through some of the key points in terms of attitude, or helpful attitude to this receptive approach we're taking to the metta-bhavana in these first 2 weeks. Basically, you know, we want to be clear on our intention when we're doing the metta-bhavana, that's what we're doing. We need to value that exercise and prepare for meditation. That'll help us when we arrive on the cushions. And we need to remember that, of course, the mind that we have when we meditate on the cushions is the mind that we have when we're off the cushions. And they both affect one another. So we can really bring more power to our meditation by considering the way we are, perhaps just before we meditate, or even, you know, a lot further away than that, and that will make our meditation much more absorbed. And it works the other way around too. I mean, I remember one of the things, thinking back to when I first learned, one of the things I noticed quite quickly was that the sort of calm that I had when I meditated was sort of experienced outside of meditation too, and that was really quite a nice experience. So it works both ways. Yeah, and maybe a sense of wonder, you could put it that way, really, when we meditate, because we don't know what's going to happen. Our minds are you know, even from a scientific perspective, we don't understand our minds. And experientially, you know, our minds are sort of wonderful, aren't they? You know, I talked about my delve into colour earlier, but there's all sorts of things that indicate to us that our minds are much deeper than we normally give time to consider. And especially when we meditate, we want to give it time, and we want to realise that the more doors we open, the more and explore, the more valuable our meditation experience is going to be. And we want to welcome our experience. So whatever's happening, even if it's not very pleasant, even if we're angry or worried or anxious, or we've got something on our mind, you know, even in those circumstances, that's what we have to work with. We can't push it away and pretend that's not there, and we'll just meditate as if that's not an important part of our mind, a part of our mind that is telling us it wants to be there. We have to be with it, but the way to be with it is to stay in the body, and we want to be non-judgemental. We might feel that we've perhaps let ourselves down in some way, but that's so we can just say to ourselves, well, you know, we've got that sort of letting ourselves down feeling. What does that feel like? You know, personally, you know, when I get feelings like that, I get a really constricted feeling in the throat. But we'll all have our own responses and familiar emotions that happen when we meditate, but we don't want to push it away. We want to be with that experience, and you know, and we tend to sort of emphasize the negative, but of course there's lots of positives, and when we explore the positive emotions and see how they feel in the body, that can be very pleasant indeed. And then lastly, we need to bring effort to meditation, and that doesn't mean that we sit there insisting to ourselves that we must have loving kindness experiences. It just means that we've got to take effort in preparation for the meditation and during the meditation to pay real attention to what's going on and to respond to that skillfully, to come back to the body, to explore our bodily feelings. And to realise really that meditation is an art, it's not a science, and it's different for everybody, and we have to, and we're the best ones to respond to what's going on with us, but we have to be honest in terms of what's happening with us. So that's all I wanted to say today. Apart from maybe some announcements, but before I do, I think there's maybe something else has come up here. What's this? Manjinder. Oh. Okay, thanks, Manjinder. Nice, yeah, positive response there. So questions and announcements then. So First announcement is that in 15 minutes time, Ian is going to be hosting a Zoom session. So if you want to talk about in a sort of calm and relaxed way to other people who have been through the session, join in 15 minutes time. The link is under the is it on the chat?
It's in the video description.
It's in the video description. Yeah, in the video description. Yeah, and Dana, we've done very well this month thanks to your generosity. I think we've lost the wonderful sort of dynamometer, but I can tell you that you've donated something like £3,500 in August. So thanks very much for that generosity. It really helps us produce the meetings and retreats, etc., that we do, and it helps us come back. See, if you notice that we're now in office space, so we're renting space again, and we're moving into the last quarter of the year. Hopefully, at some point, see more of you in reality instead of looking at a little black box. That'd be lovely. But yeah, so if you can donate, the link is in the chat box. And just a couple of other things. We're starting, I think, on the 24th of September, the Journey in the Guide. It's a new course. It's not a new course, but it's going to start. I'm not sure whether you've heard of the Journey in the Guide before, but it's a fantastic course. It really helps understand the Buddhist path and practical ways in which we can be with that. It's almost like a retreat, actually, in that it's so rich, and there are so many things you can take outside of the course itself into your everyday life. And like all of our courses, I think the real plus is that you meet the same people each week, and you get to know people, and you start building up a bit of a relationship, and they're really positive things. But I did notice that it's filling up quite quickly, so if you're interested in that, book it now. It's a fantastic course, and you won't regret it. And two more things. On Saturday, we're doing Dharma drop-ins. So it's an opportunity to talk about the Dharma. This particular Saturday, we're going to be carrying on with the concepts of wisdom. We're going to be talking about the wisdom held within the Wheel of Life. It's a very, very rich symbol of Tibetan Buddhism, and Amlavajra is going to be talking about that on Saturday at 10:30. And next week we're going to be continuing with the metta-bhavana, and we're going to be looking more at the active side. So we'll be looking at the receptive side largely, and next week we're going to be looking at the active things that we can do to try to cultivate metta. All that's left to do now is to thank the team for coming, Cheryl and Madranara and Jack, and without Jack, of course, we'd have no meeting at all, because he's the person responsible for the technology, and it's a little bit complicated, actually, lots of wires everywhere, but I won't bore you with that, but thanks very much for coming, and look forward to seeing you next week.